So you're going to learn about the 6 steps to healing your gut and immune system tonight, no matter what you've tried, no matter how long you've been suffering. And I would love to know if you're feeling stuck in your health in any area. So if you feel like you're stuck in your health, if you want to share that in the comments, that's perfectly fine. And we're just going to get an idea of who's in the room as we continue on this journey together. So I know we're all in a different place, and I want to preface that right now and just say some of you still may not even know what to eat to live healthy. Others of you on this call, you feel like you've tried everything. I see some familiar faces. So I know some of the things that many of you have tried, and some of you are on a journey to really optimize your health. So as I share, know that I am like a fire hydrant. I'm aware of that. And I just want you to meet yourself where you are. So absorb what you need, toss everything else out. If you have questions, we're going to leave space and time at the end of this. And you can also reach out to us. Mary Grace is going to be available after the webinar for questions. You can email her at admin@chelseaward.com. And anything that needs to be fielded to me, she's going to get those to me as well. So welcome. And if you guys will just keep yourself muted, and Mary Grace, if you can help me with that, that's going to help me out so we can keep a clean recording for those of us who are going to, for those that are going to be watching later. So you're here for a reason, and I want you to get what you came for. So thank you so much for showing up for yourself today. And even if you haven't personally suffered with a health diagnosis, I know that you're here for a reason. And this is really just an educational class. And full disclosure, I am a practitioner. I do see clients, and I know some of you are actively seeking for a guide. So I'm going to share a couple ways that you can work with me today if that's you. But for those of you who are not looking for a guide, you're just looking for more information, I'm going to share in a way that you can receive that information as well. So this is really open for all people. Okay, but if you feel this connects some of the dots for you that you're really looking for, and you feel like it could be additional support for you and it makes sense for us to work together, then I'm going to answer some of your questions at the end just to make sure that we're a good fit. So I know that we've experienced a lot of illness over the past 3 years, right? We've experienced things that we never were imagining that we'd face as, just humanity. And let's be honest, we don't plan to get sick, right? But before we go on, I want you to know that this is exactly why I'm here today, because I see some new faces in the room, people that I have never met before. I want to share a bit more about me. What you're looking at here is my book. It's called Healed His Way. And I'm not going to push my personal beliefs on you, but I wrote this book because it was born out of my own personal health struggles, where I found God was truly my only saving grace at times. I was my first success story at 30 years old after suffering for 30 years in my health. And maybe you've asked some of the same questions that I began to ask myself on my health journey. And that was, do you ever ask yourself maybe like, why are you here? Why are you even on this planet? Like, what do you have to share? Maybe you feel like you're here to make a big impact, but you don't really know what that looks like. Or maybe you're trying to make an impact with your family or your kids, but you really just don't have the attention to give them. You don't really have the energy that you need. Maybe you really want to make an impact in the life of your husband or your spouse, but you feel like it's really a chore to be intimate with them. Maybe you don't really have the energy that you want to put into friendships. I asked myself that same question one day, why are you here? And that's really what started my journey to health, because I was in nursing school at the time, and I knew that I wanted to make a huge impact in the lives of others, but I didn't really know how that was going to be possible because I was embarrassingly suffering in my own health. And I say this to you just so you understand where I came from. I was born with colic. I had digestive issues the whole time I was a child. I received suppositories on a daily basis almost so that I could poop. And it was so embarrassing. I would go to my grandparents' house, and as a child, I was the one holding in a suppository. And I was hoping that I wouldn't have an accident before my grandmother allowed me to go to the bathroom and relieve myself. I'm going to share some really embarrassing moments with you tonight because I want you to see where I came from and know that I get you. I randomly started to faint on the playgrounds and in the mornings when I was about 7 years old. And that's when I received my first diagnosis of hypoglycemia. At the time, I was told that I would be a diabetic by the time I was 30 years old. My second diagnosis was ADD. I was held back in class. I was put in special learning classes. My mom sent me to a private school, hoping that it would help me pay attention. And throughout my childhood, I developed depression, anxiety, and as a young adult, I suffered from things like food addictions, gallbladder attacks. I actually almost lost my gallbladder because it was only functioning at 40%. I have it still today, thank God. I struggled with hair loss. I mean, I was losing hair by the handfuls, chronic fatigue that would land me on the couch every single day to take a nap for about 4 hours. I would peel myself off the couch. I would cook dinner. I would crash in the bed at night, wake up exhausted just to do everything again the next day. And I used things like caffeine and sugar to fuel myself just to keep going. And I didn't realize that those are the very things that were driving my health further in the tank. I had migraines that would sometimes last a month with no relief, allergies, a diagnosis of hypothyroidism, and then hit the dreaded IBS. If you're suffering with digestive issues, I totally get you. I had bouts of chronic diarrhea or constipation that would actually keep me from wanting to leave my house. So if you can relate to this, please type yes so that I can know that I'm not alone on this journey. By the time I was 27 years old, I was completely burnt out. I had a type A personality. I was a workaholic. I pushed myself to exhaustion, and I had not had a menstrual cycle in 3 years. And that's when I went to my first functional medicine doctor, and he told me at age 27, you are in perimenopause. I was having hot flashes, mood swings, and the whole 9 yards. And as a registered nurse, I was dealing with my own health issues. But I realized I was just like my patients who were not getting well. We were both being told the same story, and that's that medications and surgery was the way out. If I had to guess, most of you have suffered and have been prescribed at least one medication because of similar health issues. This was the first 30 years of my life. And I started studying things that I'm going to show you today. I completely reversed every single diagnosis, from IBS to early menopause. And I'm here because I want you to know what's possible. I'm here because I took my health back. I did it over a long period of time. And when I started working with clients, I wanted to be able to provide them with a step-by-step plan and with the tools that I desperately needed on my own journey. So that's when I started studying functional medicine. I developed the Go With Your Gut method, which offers a step-by-step plan to heal your gut and your immune system naturally. And it's exactly what I'm going to share with you today, because honestly, I'm just on a mission to help other people get free. As a practitioner, I like to help people heal from chronic inflammation, chronic digestive issues, autoimmune conditions, things like eczema, leaky gut, IBS, heavy metal toxicity, because a lot of times these are misdiagnoses. You go to your doctor over and over and you're never diagnosed with these things. And for those who don't know me, I've been in the medical field for over 20 years now. I have a background in both traditional and natural medicine. I've also studied spiritual, mental, and emotional aspects to healing, and I kind of weave those into my programs as well. And I believe that the body was created to heal itself, and that everything that we need to heal is actually placed right here on this earth, and all we have to do is learn to access it. So that's what led me to study functional medicine, functional diagnostic nutrition, and a lot of these principles were published in my book, Healed His Way. So what you'll see today is a combination of everything that I learned over the years, and I'm not going to be able to share everything in this presentation, but I'm going to share with you the high points of what I created to bring to you the Go With Your Gut method. I'm actually a huge fan of mentors, and I think this really helps us speed our process up to success. And it's one of the reasons why I got a mentor today. So I want to give credit where credit is due and honor my amazing mentor today, Krista Orecchio. Krista helped me understand the gut in a new way. And I'm actually one of only 100 practitioners who had the privilege of training under Krista when she was in practice. She's moved on to bigger and better things to heal the planet and the soil and all those great things. So I want to honor her today and just let you know, part of the process that I use and I've used to develop my own program is through her proven process. And her process helps you reprogram your genetic code. When you met Krista a few weeks ago, she's amazing. Yeah, love her. And you can get rid of your symptoms that have plagued you for many, many years by following a proven process and a method that has helped over 8,000 people around the world heal. And many of these clients have been through multiple programs. They've tried many different healing modalities before engaging in this work. And it's a huge piece of what I do today. So of those who have completed the program, y'all, these stats are amazing. 95% reported digestive improvement. Those that are suffering from chronic digestive issues like Crohn's, colitis, IBS, other digestive issues, 94% said they would recommend this work to get to others. And this is likely why my biggest source of new clients is actually through referral. Over 75% reported significant improvements in skin conditions like acne, eczema, and psoriasis. And the work has allowed people to reverse thyroid antibodies in things like Hashimoto's, improve adrenal gland function, improve metabolism. Go Mary Grace. There's one of our successful reversing Hashimoto's people. And people are losing up to 50 pounds on the program while in the program, and even going on to continue losing more weight. I know this is true for Mary Grace as well, even after the program. So we've seen dramatic improvements in things like SIBO, constipation, bloating, brain fog, because we address the entire gut-brain connection. So how do you know if you have an unhealthy gut? Like, you're at a gut and immune webinar, but what in the world brought you here? Well, Hippocrates was the father of natural medicine, and he said that all disease begins in the gut. And I really love this man because I have a very similar opinion. And when you think of gut-related issues, you likely think of digestive discomfort, right? Bloating, gas, stomach aches, indigestion, diarrhea, constipation, heartburn, all those things. But you don't have to have a digestive issue to have an unhealthy gut. Your gut actually impacts other organs in the body because the organs actually work together. So I'm not going to share an exhaustive list with you today, but I am going to share a few things that would make you think, oh, I may have an imbalanced gut. One is poor sleep. So you may be unable to fall asleep at night, or you may be waking up in the middle of the night or feel tired when you wake up. You might be experiencing brain fog, memory issues, headaches, or migraines. Maybe you have nutritional deficiencies. You've gone to your doctor and they say, oh, you need vitamin D or you need vitamin B, or you're not absorbing your nutrients well enough, so you're getting hair loss, brittle nails, joint pain. Other things like thyroid hormone conditions, like thyroid or adrenal conditions. I would say about half of my clients are actually on thyroid medications. Some of them do come off of the medication. Some of them still continue to take medications after the gut healing process. That's usually a pretty good ratio of people coming off. But sometimes if you have damage to your thyroid, then that may not be possible. Things like estrogen dominance and infertility are also gut related, and autoimmune conditions. Because of a process called leaky gut, autoimmune conditions are a lot of times resolved when we address the gut. So, and if you don't address the root, then you're more likely to get a second autoimmune condition. So you really need to make sure that you are getting to whatever may be causing your diagnosis and really addressing that at the root. Another thing is metabolic conditions. So if you feel like you've fought with your weight for years and it's just not budging, it could actually be related to poor gut health. Also, if you have type 2 diabetes, insulin resistance, and even skin conditions. So I like to think of the skin as a mirror to what's going on the inside. So if we're inflamed on the inside, then we're going to be inflamed and erupted on the outside. So that can cause conditions like eczema, psoriasis, and acne. So you can see how these can impact multiple different organs. I'd love to know how many years you've been suffering. If you have been on a health journey, just drop me a comment and let me know how many years you've been suffering, or if you have resolved your health journey, just kind of let me know. Give me a little bit of an idea about where you guys are. Most of the people that I work with have been suffering anywhere from 1 to 3 years when I meet them. So they've had some sort of stressor. They go to the doctor. They've maybe been to several doctors. They've been given medications. They've been told their blood work was normal. And they've even been told by natural doctors and tried natural health plans that haven't resolved the issues. And I'm going to tell you, I understand that it's an exhausting experience. And you can honestly feel hopeless. 5 years, I see that. It's a long time to suffer in your health. But the goal should not just be another supplement or another pill. And we really need to focus on the entire digestive system to reset your immune system so you can feel your best long term. So maybe you've received an actual diagnosis. Maybe you know what you're suffering with. Maybe it's Crohn's or colitis, IBS, Hashimoto's, fibromyalgia, eczema, psoriasis. I mean, the list goes on. But a diagnosis, let me tell you the truth about it. It's just a simple way for a physician and your insurance company to put a name to your medical experience. They do this so that they can give you a treatment plan. But the problem with these plans is that they're not cures. They were never intended to be cures. And we look at them like they're supposed to save our life. But no matter how much we hope they are, it's just not what they were intended to be. So we're expecting for something to happen, and it never really does. And the plan usually includes some sort of medication. It includes a surgical option. One medication leads to another. And before you know it, your health is spiraling out of control. You're going to the pharmacy every single month and you're not getting well. And how do I know this? Because I've been there. But the truth is that many of these disease states are actually reversible. When we talk about the gut, a lot of people are really quick to blame the bugs. So I'm not going to get too sciencey on you tonight, but I do want to bring in a little bit of some things that you may not have experienced or heard before. So I'm going to remind you, admin@chelseaward.com. She's available for questions. I'm going to be available for questions after the webinar is over. So please keep those in mind, jot those down, and we'll be answering those for you. So when we talk about the gut and we're blaming these bugs, we're thinking about, oh, it's the parasites that are causing, the bacteria are causing, I have a viral infection or I have a bacterial infection. And while we do test for these bugs, if we do a stool test or a stool sample, we need to remember that the bug is actually not the problem. And we've pointed the finger at the bug for a long time, both in traditional and in natural medicine, but the bug is not the root of the issue. It's only a small piece of the puzzle. And while there might be an infection present, the unwanted bugs are actually there because you've created a home that they want to live in. Now, I'm not blaming you for creating a home for these bugs, but they are looking for a home that they can thrive in. And the things that they love are poor diets, stress, medications, toxins, unhealthy lifestyles, because all these things decrease the stomach acid. And when we start pouring in food from our standard American diet, they have plenty to eat. So why in the world would they leave? The truth is that they don't. And then they call in all their friends because you've created an amazing home for them. And by the time you start to experience symptoms throughout your entire body, you've likely got an overgrowth of these unwanted bugs. So when you hear the word microbiome, don't let that scare you. It's just bugs, the bacteria, the fungus, the yeast, all the bugs, and it runs throughout your entire body. It's in your gut, yes, but it runs through your nose, your mouth, your esophagus, your lungs. And all of these bugs that are in our body actually outnumber our human cells. So congratulations. If you didn't know it, you are actually more bug than you are human. So the big thing to remember about these bugs, though, is that we want to keep them in balance. And we're all made up of different microbes, different bugs. A lot of these can actually cause disease, but that doesn't mean that we want to just go in there and start assaulting the body and kicking all these bugs out, because just like in nature, we actually have scavengers and they like to clean up the earth, and the body is no different. We only become sick when our immune system isn't healthy and we're feeding this inflammatory process. So if you look at some of the names of the infections, you've probably heard of some of these. All of these are actually pathogenic, and that means that they can cause disease when the condition is just right. But the great news is when your body is healthy, you can come in contact with these bugs and they're not going to create signs of infection or disease. So the goal, again, is balance. You want the right combination of these microbes so that they're working for you and not against you. And if you do this right, you are going to replicate healthy communities instead of sick communities, and your body's going to be in harmony. You're going to turn off genes that actually create disease, which is amazing. We know that a healthy lifestyle can actually prevent unhealthy genetic weaknesses from expressing themselves. So your genes only play a tiny, tiny role in your health. And the reason we end up with the same disease processes as a lot of our families is because we have the same lifestyle habits. Just like my diagnosis of hypoglycemia. Remember, I told you I was hypoglycemic at age 7. They said, you'll be diabetic by the time you're 30. Guess what? Same exact story happened to my grandmother. Hypoglycemic at age 7. She was a diabetic by age 30. But by age 30, I was on my way to living a healthier lifestyle. I was understanding more about nutrition, and I have had normal blood sugar, and I never developed diabetes because I worked on my lifestyle that could prevent that genetic propensity from like replicating in my life. So what does it actually look like to heal your gut and reverse disease? What if you're on a medication? What if you already have a diagnosis? Well, this is where that step-by-step plan that I mentioned comes in, and I want to share that with you today. So step 1 is you want to work on your cellular health, and we do this through detox. So you're going to need certain vitamins, minerals, and amino acids to properly detox. And I personally love medical foods. If you're using those things, you want to make sure that you're working on 3 phases of detox. So you can kind of do a Google search if you want to look for some of that. But you really want to be making sure that you're using whole food. So a lot of times people are going on juice cleanses and they're like, oh, I'm going to do a juice cleanse, or I'm going to do this over-the-counter detox in a box. And the problem is that these things are not helpful. Number 1, because you have to have protein to truly detox. Your body's looking for the amino acids from that protein. And so you want to really use meat. Protein is optimal here. If you're vegetarian, you can use something different, but I do prefer meat. And then you're going to use things, foods like beets, lemon, grapefruit, dandelion greens. They're really helpful for detoxifying your liver during this process. And if you're focusing in more on hormone detox, you want to include foods like cruciferous vegetables. Those are things like cauliflower, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, asparagus, and those are great for hormone detox. So you also want to get plenty of colorful foods. I really love chlorophyll to help cleanse the blood. That's in one of the products that I use. And personally, I do an assessment to really look at the toxic burden on a person's life, and I create treatment plans according to that. But really, you can use kind of a food as medicine approach if that's what you prefer. So when people get this right, people have lost literally the last 10 pounds that they needed to lose. They've jump-started weight loss that wouldn't budge. And a lot of times you're holding on to this excess body weight because your system is so toxic. And your toxins are stored in the fat. So when you release the toxins, your body actually feels safe enough to release the fat. And I've seen women get pregnant after months of detox. And we've improved hormone health. Brain fog starts to lift. That's a really common thing. People start getting their energy back. So what does it look like when you get this right? Tanya and I met when she was an administrator of Marilyn Hickey Ministries, which is a television show that I was on years ago. And she had read my book and she shared that with her husband. And she was talking to him about the results of my programs. And little did I know, she had been experiencing debilitating cycles and chronic fatigue. She had been to multiple doctors. She hadn't found any answers. Several weeks after we met in person, Tanya actually had one of her, what she called her period episodes, and she ended up in the hospital. Like, who ends up in the hospital because of their period? Well, Tanya did. And this was really common for her because she had such intense pain with her periods that she would pass out. And after that episode, her husband actually told her to call me when she got home. And the answer to these things can be simple sometimes. So for Tanya, very simple. We looked at food sensitivities. We removed gluten and dairy. Of course, those are some of the inflammatory foods. And we put her on a cellular detox, just like the one I told you about. And the liver plays a really big role in hormone health. If you didn't know, your liver is responsible for over 200 different things in the body that it's responsible for. In hormone health, it's responsible for getting rid of excess estrogen. So with her, once we got rid of this excess estrogen, she was able to bring her hormones back into balance. So She was also over exercising a lot. You can see in her picture, she didn't like lose a lot of body fat, but she toned up a lot. And that's because she was doing a lot of exercise and she was over exercising to the point that she was actually stressing out her body. So we kind of toned that down a little bit. And if losing weight is your goal, you really want to know this and keep this in mind. If you over exercise and put too much stress on the body, you're actually going to have the opposite effect, and it's going to cause you to gain weight. Am I sharing my screen? No. I'm sorry, y'all. I don't think I'm sharing my screen. Thank you, Win. Okay. All right, I'm going to continue with step 2. Now that you guys have missed my screen sharing, I apologize. Thank you for letting me know. So step 2 is that you are going to focus on inflammation. So inflammation is a problem because it can lead to a lot of different disease processes in the body. And you want to remove the top inflammatory foods. So things like gluten, corn, and other grains, dairy. I love to remove toxic seed and vegetable oils, things like canola, safflower, sunflower. And I also like to use supplements to clean up old proteins in the body. I love things like proteolytic enzymes. They actually break down hard tissue in the body. Make sure you're chewing your food really well. Break it down all the way. Chew it until it's the consistency of salsa. That releases natural digestive enzymes into your food. You can also take digestive enzymes to improve and just rest your digestive system. Castor oil packs over your liver. Guys, this is an ancient method that I absolutely love. Okay. The science on this stuff is phenomenal. And I'm learning more and more about castor oil. And I'm not making any claims here, so please don't just hear me out on that. But it has been used to heal organs. It will lubricate your bowels if you are constipated and you need to have a bowel movement. You put it over your belly and kind of like your liver area. It has been seen to heal cysts on the ovaries, break down growths, hard tissue. I love to use these packs during this phase. So this is important because inflammation is an early symptom of autoimmunity. So if you have an autoimmune condition or you're trying to prevent autoimmune conditions because maybe they run in your family, this is a really good thing to remember. Now, when I'm working with clients, I do offer a custom nutrition plan. I'm going to be sharing a gift with you guys who are on the end of the webinar, just so you can kind of get a taste of some of that. But when you're identifying the right foods, you want to pay attention to how certain foods make you feel. For example, a lot of times starchy foods like beans, potatoes, they can actually cause bloating and gas, as well as fermented foods, especially if you use those too early in the process. And I usually try to use more of a cooked diet when I'm working on the gut, because raw foods and particularly grains, they can be harder to digest when you're healing. So you really want to focus on resting your digestive system as much as possible. So we do a short elimination diet where we're eliminating certain foods for a period of time, and then we bring those back in and reintroduce those. And the idea is really to nourish your digestive system. So isn't this beautiful? I'm glad I'm sharing my screen now. This is some of the images from the recipes inside of our program. And I share this with you today to let you know that it can be fun, it can be beautiful. We use a lot of meat, vegetables, even fruits, and plenty of color. And that's really important for rebuilding a strong microbiome inside. So using enzymes is really what gives your body that break. And you want to reduce the inflammation because that takes the stress off of your thyroid, your adrenal glands, and even other parts of your body. So a lot of times we might get neck or shoulder or joint pain, and this process is also going to help get rid of some of that discomfort as well. So meet Erica. Erica's a social worker. She's a mom. She was a mom of a 7-year-old when we met, but she had already had a miscarriage. And she was told that she may never have babies because of her PCOS and her adenomyosis. She was exhausted and she struggled with her weight. She was cycling every 2 weeks. It was lasting 2 weeks. So do the math. She never got a break from her period. She tried conventional treatment. Nothing helped her. Her doctor said there was no hope. They actually told her she needed a hysterectomy at age 36. She was following a keto diet, trying to lose the little bit of extra body fat she had on her. And when we met, I did some testing with her and I realized that her body needed fruit. So she was very scared, but she included fruit in her diet and she lost 12 pounds after struggling through keto for 3 years. And she was thrilled to eat fruit again. I mean, like, who doesn't like fruit? This is the thing. The right foods actually matter. With her, we looked at labs. We looked at blood work. We did a stool test. We did a dry hormone urine test. And we, of course, did detox with her because you guys are going to find a very big trend there with me. Detox is so important. And we added stress reduction techniques. So she found out she loves getting in nature and she loves doing yoga. Who knew? And this actually allowed her to spend more time with her family because they would get out in nature together. Her and her daughter would do yoga together. And she was really stressed because her daughter was in all of these sports. And I was the bad guy. And I was like, hey, make your child pick one sport per season. And it actually freed up their schedule, made her a little bit less stressed. And so what were her results? Well, along with the 12 pounds she lost, she regulated her menstrual cycles and she got more energy. She was more satisfied after meals. She had less stress. She started enjoying her family more. And she felt amazing because she finally took care of her health. I actually worked with her about 5 years ago, and she messaged me about 3 months ago, and she's doing another, she took another phenomenal step in her health. And I'm just so proud of the work that she's continued to do. So the third step is the pathogen purge. So I personally suffered from candida and yeast overgrowth most of my life. You may have remembered that from my story. So my dad had all these crazy natural remedies, all these intense diets. My doctors put me on Flagyl or fluconazole. And no matter what I did, I couldn't really put out the fire. All my symptoms kept coming back with a vengeance. And the traditional way is to treat with an antibiotic, an antifungal, an antiviral, something like that. And you've probably had your fair share of these medications. And in the world of functional medicine, I'll tell you, I've probably made these mistakes too. We have used high doses of oregano or other antimicrobials, and it's just throwing something at the symptom, right? But the problem with all of this is that we're putting a Band-Aid on the problem. If we're not using a process, if we're not working on the gut as a whole, then we're literally plugging a hole with a Band-Aid. And this causes more imbalance in the gut. And over time, like, if you've had an antibiotic, you've probably had a yeast infection, all of those things, they just kind of come hand in hand. And this can actually happen in the world of natural health as well. It doesn't really matter what type of bugs you have. Those bugs are constantly communicating with one another. They have their own language. They build protective forts around them called biofilm. And this is so you can't destroy them. It's like their little home. And that's why you can take medications time and time again, and you can still end up with infections year after year. And really, we need to stop trying to assault the bug and really learn how they're communicating with us. And one of the ways that we can do this is by understanding this biofilm. So when we do this, then we don't get as sick. We prevent them from sharing their genetic code. We prevent them from replicating. And our goal really at the end of the day is to make sure that we're not a good host so that they want to leave on their own. And when we do that, this creates a little bit more harmony and it allows us to heal faster. So this is why we use a range of herbs, and you can take a screenshot of this if you want to. I'm glad I'm sharing this. And we really do this because we want to shift the terrain instead of kill, kill, kill to destroy like the antibiotics do. So we use a step-by-step process and we target the digestive system. Then we address any infections in the body. So yes, we do use supplements. Yes, we do target infections. We just aren't assaulting something specific. So the herbs that we use will target as a whole parasites, bacteria, fungus, viral infections, mold, and we can even use things to target Lyme disease for people who need that. Now, it's a little bit different strategy, but understand that everybody's on their own personal journey anyway. So we're also pairing these herbs with binders. And what binders do is they sweep up the toxins. So they put them in a nice little bundle. And then when we go poop, we release them out of the system. And The biofilm, remember the little fort, the little house that these bugs, they put around themselves. This is important that we break down that little house. So we use biofilm destroyers, and what they do is they act like little razor blades, and they come in and they slice little holes in their homes, which exposes the bugs and allows these herbs to go in and do their job to destroy them or either drive them out. So during the pathogen purge, we're more concerned about interrupting their communication so that they no longer replicate. By doing this, I've seen people pass parasites. Yes, I've seen people pass seeds, which is like eggs of parasites. I've seen a lot of things happen. And the great thing is that you're doing, like, the body's doing the work for you. You're just taking something to help encourage that process. So just ask Marcy. When we met, she had been to multiple doctors, specialists for many years. She was battling with weight gain. She had nodules on her thyroid related to her Hashimoto's, and she was sick all the time to the point that they actually removed her tonsils in adulthood. She was exhausted, in a mental fog. She said by the time her head hit the pillow, she was wide awake. She was tossing and turning all night, exhausted during the day. She was on medications for her thyroid, but they weren't keeping her symptoms under control. And we looked at her blood work and we found a lot of important clues and things that her doctors had dismissed. We also looked at a stool test and we looked at the health of her gut. We ran advanced hormone testing. We looked at those hormone pathways that could be driving a lot of her thyroid and hormone imbalances. So she went on a nutrition plan. She followed the exact steps that we've outlined here. Within 6 appointments or 6 months together, she was 90% symptom free. After years, doctor's appointment after doctor's appointment, she lost 35 pounds and she got her life back. She had more energy to enjoy her life and her family. She got a promotion at work, and for fun, she won the Biggest Loser competition amongst her coworkers at work. So we recorded an interview with Marcy together, and she said when I presented the health plan to her that she was so nervous about the investment, but she said she got her life back, so everything was totally worth it. Once we address pathogens, we want to recondition the gut by reseeding and nourishing. And this is where we really re-educate the immune system. So if we purge out these pathogens and we don't rebuild our defense mechanisms, then the immune system is going to remain weak. It's going to be a target for infection. And again, this is the problem with antibiotics and a lot of these other drugs, because they destroy everything, but then we never rebuild the immune system. So if you've ever met someone who always stays sick, like take kids for an example. If your kids are going to school and they're always sick, this is a problem. This is an immune issue. So, and this is why we use things like these probiotics and prebiotics to really reseed and heal the gut. So as you remember, you are more bug than you are human, and you are an estimated 30 trillion cells. So you have anywhere from 70 to 90% that are actually bacteria. And you have 3 main strains of bacteria inside. So you have Lactobacillus, Bifidobacterium, and you have the bacillus. So you have those that are on the front lines that kind of come in through fermented food. You feed those with fiber. Those are the lactose. The bifidos are more responsible for laying that strong foundation. They kind of stay around and colonize the gut. And then the bacillus are really important because they can really withstand those harsh environments. So when we take those in supplement form, they can really survive the digestive tract, and they are known as the peacemakers in the gut. So we are, along with reseeding and nourishing the gut, it's important to address the mucus lining. So this is a really big piece of healing. On the left, you can see a healthy functioning intestine. At the top, you see the bacteria, the food, the toxins, and they're inside the intestines. And then that little yellow line is your, it's a healthy mucosal layer. And then you see the intestinal lining. You can see that those little things that look like little men with hair, that's your intestinal lining. They're really tightly packed together, and they only allow nutrients into the body. So they're preventing things like toxins, bacteria from entering into the bloodstream. So if you look on the right, you're going to see a different picture. You see the yellow line again, you see the mucus lining, but you can see it's a little bit broken down. It's not offering as much protection. It's actually allowing those foods and toxins and bacteria to pass through. And you can see that the intestinal lining is really weak. It's allowing those food particles to spill into the bloodstream. Now, what you're looking at is a condition called leaky gut. So where there's a breakdown in the mucosal layer, the intestinal lining becomes really weak, you're allowing food proteins to spill into circulation. So this causes inflammation throughout the entire body. So in this step, we're going to repair the lining. We're going to repair the mucosal lining. We're going to squeeze together those that little intestinal lining so that it becomes tighter and doesn't allow those things to pass through into circulation. This prevents food sensitivities. This prevents things like gas, bloating, and it also puts inflammatory disease processes in remission. So if you're experiencing leaky gut, or if you ever have, you're going to be getting symptoms like insomnia, bloating, food sensitivities, autoimmune conditions, insulin resistance, headaches, migraines, heartburn, reflux, weight gain. And this is where we can use supplements to improve this and end this process. So I started working with Susie because she had severe debilitating hives. And I'm sharing these stories with you because I want to paint a picture for you and show you how this all comes together and looks when people really begin to heal. She had been locked in her home for 3 months prior to our introduction. She was soaking in a bathtub 3 to 4 times per day, walking around her house naked because she could not stand to put clothes on her body. She was in such pain from her hives. She also has Hashimoto's. She was hospitalized years ago for Guillain-Barré, and she was on 2 strong medications because of the nerve damage related to her episode. Those were gabapentin and methadone. So you can imagine the pain that she was in. And she lived on a farm. She loved to travel, but she had to cancel all of her plans for the year because of her health. She didn't know what was going to happen. But within 1 week of working together, her symptoms completely disappeared. So we worked on her nutrition. We looked at advanced lab tests. We looked at her stool testing, her hormones, and we went through the steps to heal her gut. And the big thing for her was that, 1, she was eating inflammatory foods, and 2, she was living in a moldy environment. So if you're living in mold, that's something that's really important. You have to clean that up, or it's going to continue to be a trigger for you. Now, this did take time, but eventually she got off her methadone and her gabapentin completely, which completely transformed her mood. And Tom, her sweet husband there, he was ecstatic. We did not do labs on Tom, but at 71, we started working on detox. We worked on his gut. We removed inflammatory foods. We cleaned up a lot of his personal skincare. And he said at age 71, he felt better than he did when he was 30. Now, a little fun story about Tom. Tom's name. Tom is known as Popcorn Tom in his town. So Tom loved to make popcorn, and he would go to his grocery store and he would sell it, not because he needed the money, just because he loved to interact with people and just talk to people. And he had stopped doing that for a long time because Susie's health was bad. His health wasn't great. And when he finished and he got rid of his excess body weight, he got rid of his indigestion, he got rid of his digestive issues, him and Susie both got better, they started selling popcorn again. So I got my own bag of Popcorn Tom's popcorn, although I don't eat popcorn, but it was really sweet to receive that in the mail. So they got their life back and they were able to start traveling again. And that's what's important. Okay. You guys okay? We're on step 5 of 6. We're almost there. So step 5 is really to restore and optimize your stomach acid. So this is so important. And most people have low stomach acid. And the reason this happens is because 1, poor diet, 2, because it decreases as we age. And I've never met anyone who did not need this step. It is actually pretty unique to the way that I work. And most people do not include this step in their programs. So, the big thing with this is the hydrochloric acid in the gut is really there to defend us from unwanted pathogens. So if we're exposed to these bugs through food or water or anything as it enters into our system and we don't have sufficient amounts of stomach acid, then these pathogens are going to want to stay in there and hang out. And if we have acid, if we rebuild the stomach acid, then just like good fences make good neighbors, good stomach acid becomes the fence to keep out invaders. So you can actually use bitter foods. You can use things like greens or beets or lemon, apple cider vinegar. Those are all things that naturally boost the stomach acid. So if you're using food as medicine, that's great. And I also teach my clients how to test their stomach acid and rebuild this and do this on a regular basis so that those levels can remain in optimal levels. The second part of step 5 is terraforming. Now, we did already include probiotics in step 4, and these phases were actually kind of one, but they can actually be done together or apart. So we actually start including fermented foods during this phase. And really, we're getting that good, healthy bacteria from our environment, and we're creating a environment where we create health instead of disease. You can use things like kimchi, sauerkraut, kefir water, yogurts, fermented beverages. A lot of these have some sugar, and that's okay. The bacteria will actually break down and eat a lot of the sugar. So sometimes I'll leave mine in my refrigerator for longer periods of time and just let that process happen naturally so that they're not as sugary. But there are some really good ones that you can get that don't have as much sugar as well. Especially like the kimchi and sauerkraut, they're typically sugar-free. But your yogurts, of course, they're getting fancy and fruity, and they're filled with a lot of sugars. So, but imagine if you could cut your sick days in half. Now, this is exactly what happened to me. I had not been sick in 10 years, and then I got COVID, didn't we all? But I want you to know that that's what's possible for you when you have a strong immune system working for you. Let me introduce you to Cheryl. She came to me after a trip to Israel that she said she would have loved even more if she could walk. When she got home, she had swelling in her legs that lasted 2 weeks before it would go down. She was entering into menopause. She was 50 pounds overweight. She was depressed, fatigued, sitting on her couch every single day, not really doing anything. She had no ambition, no drive, no energy. And we worked a lot on her mindset because let's face it, she wasn't happy with the fact that she couldn't figure out how to navigate her life, or she felt like her body was betraying her. And we did advanced hormone testing with her. And we found also that she had several types of parasites. So we started working on that, and things started to shift for her drastically. So she started including foods, realizing that she loved whole foods, supplements to support her needs. And she also realized that she loved to go outside and get in nature. I mean, like, listen, I'm a nature lover. I'm going to push this on as many of my clients as I possibly can. So most of my clients do learn that they love nature. But she also realized that she needed to support her physical strength. So she went and bought, several different things that she could bring into her home to build like this little mini home gym. And she's really a beautiful picture of what happens when we address the whole mind, body, and spirit. This is where we miss it so many times in traditional medicine. We are so much more than a physical body, physical symptoms, depressive episodes that need to be masked with antidepressants. And I promise you, I will not get on a soapbox here. But when we address everything as a whole and we find that missing spark of joy, then we can truly heal. Listen to her life now. She's 55 pounds lighter. She is an author of a book called Letting God Lead, which I highly recommend if you have not read it. And she is now a very successful woman in business and ministry, helping others live a healthy lifestyle so they can do what they're called to do. She is an amazing testimony, guys. She was sitting on the couch when we met doing nothing, absolutely depressed, but she improved her health, and it improved every area of her life, including business, finances, relationships. And Cheryl didn't stop with herself. She got her entire family on board so that she could leave a legacy for her children and her grandchildren. And this is how important this conversation is today. It all started with a belief that she could change. And I think that so many times we think, oh, this all sounds great, but can I do it? But a lot of this starts in the mind. And she just took action to make it happen. And I want you to know today that you can choose to live in joy and happiness, and she's living proof. When you improve your health on this level, it's going to give you a complete upgrade. So We all know everything that happened with this whole SARS-CoV-2 outbreak. But the thing is that it enters into our cells by latching onto a protein called ACE2 receptors. And guess where these are found? In the gut. So there's not really a person alive that could not benefit tremendously from this work. And as a matter of fact, I've seen a lot of people get worse with their health, particularly their gut or their immune system or their detox pathways because of this virus. And this is one of the very first things I do when I work with someone who's been dealing with long haulers or just ongoing COVID outbreaks. So once we do the work, we want to make sure that we keep the results. So this is where the maintenance comes in, right? And the worst thing that you can do, the worst thing you can do after you get healthy habits in place is go back to where you got stuck in the first place. So this is the importance of the maintenance so that you can maintain your results. In the beginning, we restrict a lot of foods, we heal, we rest, and then now it's time to bring some of those foods back in. We live a varied diet. We bring in foods that we love. We do not deprive ourselves. And we realize that 90% of the time, what we do is what makes up our health. And 10% of the time, we play. So your body's going to be a lot stronger. And a lot of the foods that made you sick in the beginning, maybe there were certain foods you didn't really tolerate as well. You're going to find that you'll be able to bring some of those foods back in. And you'll get a diet that makes you feel confident. Like you're going to be able to know, like, yes, this food works for me, or no, this food doesn't work for me. And in my programs, I do offer you a list. I kind of help you create a daily, weekly, occasional, and never list. And that's very specific for each person as well. So just as a reminder of the stats, we talked a little bit about these in the beginning, but this method has been proven with people from all over the world, reported almost every organ system in the body has seen improvement, and 94% of people said that they would recommend the work to others. But is it right for you? Well, Hippocrates actually said that before you heal someone, ask him if he's ready to give up the things that made him sick. I'll be honest, I haven't always followed that rule, but today is a new day. And so I'm going to ask you a few questions. Are you willing to change your diet and stop eating things that don't agree with you? Are you excited about what's possible for your health after seeing this today? Has your doctor told you that your labs are normal, but you still feel like crap? Would you rather heal your disease instead of manage your symptoms? Do you understand that this is a journey and that you may have hard days and experience some symptoms along the way? Are you willing to recognize that I'm not your healer, that you have the power within you to heal? Are you willing to have patience and celebrate small wins as I celebrate with you? And will you dedicate time to prepare healthy food, practice self-care, and take supplements daily? If so, I told you that I would give you an invitation to those who are ready if you want to become another success story like Denise and Ed. So Denise reached out to me 3 years prior to becoming a client. I've had several of those who reached out, decided they weren't ready for whatever reason, and they continued to struggle trying things on their own. And she actually was scared to make the investment in her health. So some of the questions she asked herself was, one, would it work for her? Number two is, what about the financial investment? Could she afford it? Number three, could she do this without her husband if he wasn't going to be on board? And these are honestly the most common questions that I get from people. And I'll be honest, 3 years later, she paid double what she would have paid for if she would have started the program when we first spoke. And she also paid in her health because she got an autoimmune condition that, what if she could have prevented that? They were both struggling with their weight, and Ed had some digestive issues. He had high blood pressure. Denise was severely fatigued. She also had digestive issues, acid reflux, numbness throughout her body, menopause-related hormone symptoms, and she had skin flares on her face from an autoimmune condition, which, was very embarrassing for her. And after working together through this exact program I've shared with you today, their symptoms completely disappeared. All their unwanted weight. I mean, look at them now, right? They're in their 60s. They love to travel. They're in retirement. And Denise said that they're now equipped to live this healthy lifestyle on the road by feeling their best. And you have two paths, really. You can kind of take what you've learned today, continue to do it on your own, and hope you don't end up like Denise calling me 3 years later. And that's okay if you do. I'll be here for you then. Or you can ask for help from a guide who's been there and who gets you. So I've shared with you this idea that the gut can be repaired. I've shared examples of people just like you who were able to use this work to their advantage to overcome their health issues. And now I want to do the same for you. So I'd like to invite you, if this is something that you feel is right for you, I would like to invite you to consider doing this work together. So if you're serious about the opportunity of working together, I'm actually going to offer a 30-minute call to discuss whether or not the program is right for you. This is not a coaching call. I will not be giving personal advice. And please only schedule with me if you are serious about this work and you've never had a discovery call with me before, and plan to show up for the call. I want to make sure that I have serious people. So during this call, we're going to discuss your goals. I'll give you practical next steps for accomplishing those goals. And if I feel like one of the programs are right for you, we do offer several programs. This is our entire system, basically. So we have shorter programs, we have longer programs. So I'm going to offer you additional details on how we can work together if we feel that one of those programs are right for you. So Mary Grace is going to put the link in the chat. And once you schedule, you're going to receive a form so that I can make the most of our time together. So please make sure that you complete that. I have a beautiful picture of my most amazing gift in the world, Mary Grace. She is a wife to an amazing husband. She's a mom of 3 beautiful children. I could get teary and say that she will be your program success coach. She is a health coach. And when you enroll in one of our programs, she's your guide. She has Hashimoto's that she's put in remission. She is a nurse and she wanted baby number 3 before we met. That was not before we met. She's had a baby since we met. And honestly, she didn't know if it would be possible because of the state of her health, because Mary Grace was exhausted. She didn't even know if she wanted to do normal life, much less have another baby. But she has completely transformed her health. And most importantly, what I love is her mindset has completely shifted. She is a brand new person. And as a nurse, she really just wanted to give back and to, she found a passion for holistic health. And when she healed her body naturally, she messaged me and she was like, hey, if anything ever comes up and I can help your clients, then I want to be there for you. So now she's certified as a health coach and she works in our Go With Your Gut programs. So her job is to hold your hand, to wipe your tears, to celebrate and encourage you, to offer advice on meal plans, technology, when you get lost or stuck, and all the things from someone who's actually been through the program and succeeded. So she's here today. She's been supporting you in the background. Mary Grace, you can wave or speak if you feel like you want to do either. So thank you. So I'm going to say, go ahead, Mary Grace.
My internet is very spotty and I don't even know if you can see me, but if you're considering booking a call with Chelsea, I am telling you, it will turn your life around. I was, like many of her clients, sitting on the couch thinking about, what am I doing with my life? Is this life? Can there be more? And I took the leap and I signed up with Chelsea. And I can tell you, I would pay 10 times more, work 10 times harder, and 10 times longer if I knew the results I would receive. I mean, she is the gift we all need, and you should all book a call with Chelsea.
Thank you for sharing. That's beautiful. So Mary Grace, if you, Mary Grace, we'll put the link in the chat. If you guys feel that that's your best next step, that is perfect. You can do that. And I would love to spend some time with any of you who feel like that is. I also promised you a gift if you stayed with me. Thank you so much. And I offered time to do a Q&A. I'm going to do both of those. So Mary Grace, if you'll also drop a link to our nutrition reset guide in the comments. This is a gift for those of you who have hung out with me for an hour, given me an hour of your time. We really believe that removing inflammatory foods and focusing on a diet with meat, fruit, vegetables as the foundation is really what we need to reset the body and begin to heal. So I'm going to share with you some of the recipes that we have so you can get started on your journey. It doesn't matter if you want to do this on your own or if you plan to work with us. The recipes are going to be great for you either way. And as an added bonus, I want to share something with you guys that I've been wanting to do for a long time. And we're doing something special for the group of people who join us on this health journey. So our programs are currently one-on-one programs working with me directly. We have held 1 month, like shorter group programs, but we've never done a big group program and really set that up for people who are going through these longer programs. And we are actually launching a group component for those of you who would like to join us. So when you join one of our programs, you are going to get special office hours with me. This is going to add 12 additional sessions to your program. If I have clients who see this or are on this, you're going to be included in this as well. So don't feel like you're going to get left out. You're going to have, I'm going to add those office hours to you if you're currently in a program. And that way you can get some support on a regular basis because, hey, I find that a lot of people are coming to calls and they're like, oh, I should have emailed you and asked you this. Well, no more of that is going to happen because I'm going to make myself available to you a little bit more often so that you can get more of a personal touch from me. So I'm so excited about this. And I know it's going to be worth the price of admission because when we all come together and we build a supportive community together, then that's how we truly heal. So, okay, that's a wrap. I'm going to pause and I'm going to let you either raise your hand or put your questions in the chat. You can unmute yourself and talk to me. I'm going to leave this screen up so I can see, so you can see how to book. I think Mary Grace has also got that in the chat. And I'm going to pull the chat up. So does anybody have questions before we call it a night? Anybody? Okay. I guess I did a good job. Okay. Well, thank you, Christina. That's sweet. Thank you guys. I appreciate you and I hope you have a beautiful evening. I guess we'll call it a night. Uh-oh.